One kitchen table, four grade levels, zero prep periods. Welcome to homeschool life. Let's talk about how to make multi age learning actually work and why it just might become your favorite part of homeschooling. Today, I wanted to talk to you about multi age learning and what this really looks like. Because I think sometimes this is a concept that can be a little difficult for some people to wrap their heads around. And so I wanted to just talk about some of the various aspects of it. And a scene like this is probably familiar to you. You might be sitting there like doing science questions with your fourth grader, and it somehow ends up turning into like a half hour on black holes, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But meanwhile, your kindergartner is cutting up maybe paper experiments on the floor, ones that you meant for them to do or ones that you didn't mean for them to do. And your middle schooler might need some help with some pre-algebra, and the toddler is feeding the dog a crayon snack. And you've just got all of this chaos going on, and you're standing there thinking, like, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to teach all of these kids at once? And this has probably been you, right? It's been me before. It's okay. You're not failing. You're just trying to run like a one woman private school, and you don't have a janitor, and you don't have a lunch lady, and you don't have a prep period. That's something teachers get that you don't have is they have a prep period. But think about it. Teaching all of your kids together, it really can make your life easier. And I would contend that it also makes learning better. And that's what we're going to be talking about, what multi-age learning can really look like in real life and why it works. And let's start with this why this idea that every kid needs their own curriculum. Where did that come from? Because I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that a lot of us have in our heads that we think the sixth grader should be doing sixth grade stuff and the third grader should be doing third grade stuff. And if we're not doing it like that, we're not doing it right. And that's not true. This idea did not come from homeschoolers. It came from the school system. And it actually makes a lot of sense for the school system. I'm not saying it's wrong. For the school system, it makes a lot of sense to group kids by age and teach kids that way. When you're dealing with a large volume of kids, you've got to sort them somehow. And sorting them by age is actually a lot easier than sorting them by ability. And so when homeschooling took off back in the 80s and the 90s, parents and publishers, they really only had this one model. That was the standard model in the school system. And so that's what everyone copied, right? Early homeschooling programs were built the same way, especially because things like Abeka and Bob Jones and other things like that, like, they were using them in private school. And so homeschoolers just started using those same curriculum at home. And so there was a first grade book, a second grade book, and that kind of stuff. And the mindset that everybody had was, well, that's the way that it's supposed to be, right? And then it's entirely possible. I'm not going to necessarily say this is true, but it's entirely possible that curriculum companies were like, well, this is great because somebody's going to buy our sixth grade box and our fifth grade box and our third grade box. And later on, they're going to get our seventh grade box. And we're just selling curriculum left and right. So the model might have been designed for efficiency, but it wasn't really designed for relationship and rhythm as a family. Classroom efficiency is not the same thing as homeschool efficiency and family efficiency. And listen, multi-age learning, this is not a new fad. Yes, this is what the public schools were doing after about the 1920s, but the original model is the one-room schoolhouse. And your homeschool family around your kitchen table looks a lot more like the one-room schoolhouse than it does the elementary school down the street. And the one-room schoolhouse is great because you have older kids helping younger kids, and everybody is stretching their own skills. This was the original model. And so, how many grades are you juggling this year? Let's see who's got the biggest spread of all of you. How many kids, how many grades, what different grades are you? Just go ahead and put that in the comments for me. All right, so I want to talk about what this looks like in the day to day. So, with a multi age homeschool, a lot of us start the day with like morning time, right? We start it together. We maybe sing a song or a hymn, we read a poem, we do some picture study. And while this is going on, the toddler might be sitting there coloring or eating goldfish off the tray. Maybe the middle schooler is drawing in my middle schoolers loved to draw. They would have these, like, spiral bound art books, and every day during morning time, they would pull them out, and they would start drawing. Everybody was always drawing something, and we're all just, like, sitting there together learning about the same things. Now, eventually, the day kind of splinters off and people go off to do their own subjects, but instead of sending them off to do everything, we learn some of our subjects together. So let's say that it's explorers. We're doing history and we're learning about explorers, and maybe we're reading some about Lewis and Clark. We read a living book about Lewis and Clark. And then as a family, we pull out the map and we map their route across the USA together and talk about the different places they went. And then your 6-year-old might make a canoe from the blocks or do a coloring page of Sacagawea. And your 9-year-old might label the states on the map and like do their own version of the map that you just rolled out and trace the route across. Your middle schooler could write a journal entry from Sacagawea's point of view, or could research some of the plants that Lewis and Clark encountered on their journey. So, what you got is one topic, one family, one great read aloud, and multiple activities on multiple levels that everybody could be doing. And that 6-year-old, they build the canoe out of the blocks. Maybe they color the coloring page, depending on what kind of thing they like. They're done and they can move along and leave or do something else. It's going to take your older kids just a little bit longer as they dive deeper, and they're going to get more out of it. And that's what multi age homeschooling can look like. Instead of juggling 3, 4, 5, 6 different lessons, you're gathering everyone around that meaningful story. And that's where both the peace and the depth of homeschooling live. And this approach is really, really powerful because, first of all, it saves you time. You are prepping one time, you're teaching one time, and you're connecting one time with all of the kids who are in your house. It also helps your kids learn more deeply because they are going to see ideas from multiple angles, and they're going to discuss with each other the things that are going on. And explaining something to a sibling can help cement their own understanding of the topic. It also Older kids tend to take on leadership roles, though it's funny when they get to be teens. This is so much fun to watch because different kids have different interests. And so the kid who is the most interested in the topic is the one who takes on the leadership role. And that might even be a younger kid. It's funny because Thomas and I have been doing a video class on World War II. And as Olivia's getting dressed in the morning and going in and out of the room, sometimes she'll walk through the room and she'll ask a question. And Thomas is always the one with the knowledge. And he ends up teaching her about the topic. But that's fabulous. He can teach the topic to her. And that means he really knows the topic. And it also strengthens the relationships. Olivia is almost, gosh, she's 20 and a half, guys. And she is still learning from her little brother. So there's all of this collaboration going on. This is the thing that makes your homeschool stop feeling like a triage and start feeling like togetherness. Your kids stop competing for your attention because you're all sitting there, you're learning with them, and you're all doing it together. And that's a great vibe for your homeschool. It really, really is. So you might be wondering, okay, I would love to do this idea, but how do I actually do it without spending lots and lots of time planning things out? And we actually have 3 different kinds of curriculum that can help you do this. First of all, we have our Wonder Studies. These are family style unit studies that have morning time built in. They're based around different picture books and they have history, science, art, geography, all based around a single theme, like Brazil or space or ships and sailing or gratitude. And you just open up the plan and you do the next thing. And even your high schoolers can join you for some of the morning time things because the activities in there are just so rich and so much fun. The next thing we have is our language arts together and our science together, our geography together. We call them our together curriculum. So these are for elementary school, the language arts together, and the other parts like the science together and the geography together. These are for middle school. And this is in a lot of ways like the next step after the Wonder Studies. So after you've done Wonder Studies with your family and you start getting a few kids in middle school, then you move over to the together subjects and maybe pick up science together forces or science together matter. And these are great ways for your kids to learn together. And we've put the differentiated instruction in there for you. We've told you if you have a really advanced kid, they do this. And if you have a kid who's less advanced, they do this part of the activity. And we've laid it all out for you. And then we have our morning time plans, which are perfect for all ages of kids. And so you can do that with your kindergartners all the way up to your high schoolers. You just start dropping off the picture books as your kids get older, but the music appreciation and the art appreciation and the poetry all stays the same. And this is where you can get together and focus on truth, goodness, and beauty together as a family. So really just depends on how you want to approach it. But if you've been craving a homeschool that feels calmer, maybe feels more simple, more connected, this is the way to learn. Start with one of our Wonder Studies, and they're going to show you how multi age learning can actually work in your homeschool because we have laid it all out for you. If you have been craving this kind of a homeschool ease or easier where everyone learns together, certainly more efficient, check out one of our Wonder Studies. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below to the Wonder Studies, and you might just find a theme that really resonates with you and your kids, and you can enjoy some learning together and stop juggling all the different pieces.